Imagine you're stranded in the wild, no food, no map, just plants all around you. One bite could save your life. One bite could send you to the hospital, or even worse, to your death. So how do you actually tell if wild plants are edible or poisonous? Today I'll show you the survivalist method for how to test wild plants for safety of consumption, step by step, and reveal common poisonous lookalikes that could kill you if you guess wrong. Let's go ahead and get into it. Rule number 1, learn first, test later. The best defense is gonna be recognition. For rule number 1, we wanna study our local and native plants before we go out and do any testing. The more you can learn about before you do testing, the better. So a key to this is knowing your locals. Learn edible native plants before you need to forage. You'd be better off getting lost out in nature and knowing your local edibles than having to test every single one to see if one is poisonous. Collect field guides so that you can study those and you can also store them in your go bag. Not only should you carry books, but you can also download apps on your phone like Plant Snap or Picture This or Plant ID. That's the one that I use. And especially study the lookalikes. There are gonna be common plants that are different but look alike. One is poisonous and one is not. You need to know the lookalikes. That's the most important. Poisonous plants will literally mimic non-poisonous ones. Some additional things that can help you learn your locals is by finding a local foraging expert. There are outdoor and foraging schools all around you, both for adults and for children, and you can speed up your learning process by joining a class. Instead of having to look through a book and try to figure out, is this the plant that the book is telling me about? A local expert can literally show you the plants without you having to decipher what's right and what's wrong. And of course, you can ask them questions. So you can ask them what poisonous things should you look out for and what edible things should you look for. Phase number 1, learn before you forage. And remember, nobody's memory is perfect. So even if you do learn local things that you can forage for and poisonous local plants, it's best to just have that book in your go bag so that no matter what, if you forget or you hit your head on a rock, you can use that book to find local plants you can forage and survive on. Phase number 2, the universal edibility test. If you must test an unknown plant, use the universal edibility test. It's slow, but it's saved many lives. Step number 1, separate. So divide the root, the stems, the flowers, the leaves, the fruit, and test each part separately. Step number 2, smell. Crush and smell the plant or part you're testing. If it smells like almond, bleach, or bitters, don't touch it. It's likely poisonous. Step number 3, the skin contact test. Rub a small part of the plant or part of the plant that you're testing on your skin, typically the inner elbow or your wrist, and then wait 15 minutes. If there's no itching, burning, or irritation, then you can move on to the next step. Step number 4, the lip and mouth test. Touch a tiny piece onto your lip first. Wait another 15 minutes. If all is clear, place a little bit in your mouth, but don't chew it, and then wait. Pull it out in a couple of minutes. Same thing, no irritation or any kind of iffy signs, weird taste, smells, or sensations. Move on to the next step. Step number 5, the chew and spit step. Chew, but don't swallow the plant. You guys might have seen Lord of the Rings. In the first one, the Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo gets stabbed by the ring wraith, Aragorn's gonna chew up a plant and spit it out.
She's an elf.
He's fading. He's not going to last.
This is done for 2 reasons. 1, to verify it's not a poisonous plant, and 2, to break down the enzymes and things so that when he places it on the injured location, it can apply the active chemical ingredients. So chew the plant, do not swallow, wait 15 minutes, and then spit it out. Same thing, no irritation, no weird sensations or tastes. You're probably ready to move on to the next step. Step number 6 is the swallow test. Swallow a very small amount and then wait 8 hours. Any nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, dizziness, any kind of weird sensations, then don't eat the plant. If not, you can move on to consuming a larger amount of the plant. Yes, it takes hours, but it's better to be hungry than poisoned, especially in a survival situation. Now, this test is not a guarantee. Any of these previous steps could fail, and the next step could be a massive mistake. However, in a very dire situation where there are no other options, this is a test you can utilize in a survival situation. Try this out with wild edibles you know that you can eat. So for example, here in North Idaho, I've got goosefoot. I've got dandelion. I'm gonna go ahead and try this test out with those so that I get comfortable with this test. It's good to practice all of these skills that we teach you in these videos here at Sovereign Sustainability. This will allow you to sense some of those sensations. What am I tasting for? What am I not tasting for? And then when you actually have to apply this in a survival situation, you'll notice when things go awry. You'll also notice patterns too. All right, so phase number 3 is knowing some common poisonous plants worldwide, especially here in the United States of America, that are commonly mistaken with wild foraged edibles. And the first one is poison hemlock. It's got purple spotted stems, lacy leaves, smells a little bit musty, and it's got deadly neurotoxins in it. It's found typically in areas like this near creeks, bogs, and other wet locations. It's gonna have some white looking flowers. Another one is deadly nightshade. Belladonna is another name for it. It's got shiny black berries on it, purple flowers. Just a couple berries can kill a child. So also when you're doing this, make sure you teach your kids about this. Don't let your kids just wander around and eat berries. Another one is gonna be water hemlock, found near water like this. It's got tuberous roots. It's extremely toxic. The castor bean plant, this is a tropical one. It's gonna have red leaves. We won't have this around here. And it contains one of the deadliest toxins on planet Earth. Now in my neck of the woods, especially out here, I've got other common toxic plants. I'm gonna just explain a few of them. One of them, believe it or not, is St. John's wort. Although it can be used as a medicinal in tinctures and things like that, it's actually toxic to consume. So don't eat St. John's wort. Bracken fern around me. This stuff is toxic. Don't eat this. Larkspur, another one common around my neck of the woods. Lupine, which the lupine season is past, but I'll show you just about 2 weeks ago, a massive lupine, like the size of my forearm to my fingertips.
Probably the biggest lupine I've ever seen. It's like my forearm.
And then believe it or not, daffodils are also toxic too. We have those wild around here as well. So they're beautiful, don't eat them. Now phase number 4 is knowing your common safe wild edibles. I've got some key ones here in North Idaho, and then there's ones all across the US. Some of these are gonna overlap. Dandelion is a super common wild edible all across North America. The entire plant is edible from the roots to the flowers. It's a great source of fiber and vitamins. Number 2 is goosetail. We have goosetail everywhere. It's a weed, it shows up in my flower garden. Once again, fully edible, stem to leaf. It's a common weed, it grows when you don't want it to. Number 3 is wild garlic or onion. We do have some of that around here. We also have wild ginger, which I'll show you some. They have little heart-shaped leaves on them. I'll pick a few up here and I'll eat the ginger. The best way to identify this, besides knowing what the plant looks like, is it's gonna have a strong garlicky or oniony type of smell to it. It'll be obvious. Now, they do have some wild poisonous deadly lookalikes, like Death Camas, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, which has no smell. That's how you'll know it's toxic. It smells like garlic or onion, probably safe. Do your research.
Okay, here's some wild ginger right here. You can see perfect heart shape. You can eat this, and then the roots are what you really want. You want the roots that are in there.
A fourth one is chickweed. It's got a mild taste, great alternative for salads. It grows in shaded areas in most regions of the US. A fifth one is purslane. It's got a succulent-like texture, high in omega-3s. Look for reddish stems and small round leaves. Now guys, if you know these, you can survive for a long time. During COVID, I went on a locavore diet. I only ate wild foods for about 6 months. I did buy some groceries. I'm not gonna say I went 100% locavore, but all of my salads were made with dandelions and other wild greens, like gooseneck. But again, if you're not 100% sure, don't eat it. Mistaking wild garlic for Death Camas is a one-way trip to the hospital.
But plants aren't the only thing that can fool you in the wild.
Mushrooms can be deceptive on a whole nother level. Some look like delicacies, and some could completely destroy your liver. So how can you tell the difference? Some could destroy your liver for good. Let me show you a simple trick that even professional foragers use. It's called the Spore print test. Here's how it works. You pick a mushroom, and you place the cap of a mushroom gill side down on a sheet of white paper. A simple printer sheet of paper will work. Cover it with a glass or a bowl to hold in the humidity. After a few hours or overnight, the mushroom releases its spores. The color of the spore print can help identify the species and whether or not it's toxic. White, it might be a deadly amanita. Chocolate brown, possibly edible agaricus. Purple black, could be a safe wood-loving species. But remember, this isn't a guarantee. Always cross-check with experts and field guides. General rule of thumb for gilled mushrooms like this one, most of the time they're poisonous, so you really got to be an expert when it comes to gilled mushrooms. You can see the gills on that. All right, so before we pull the jar off of this mushroom, I just want to let you know that the spore test, it is not foolproof. So this is just, once again, if you're in a pinch survival situation and it's life or death, you have no other options. This is one extra way that you can check to see if it might or might not be poisonous. And another thing too is we're looking for certain colors. The colors can help you identify what the mushroom is. So maybe you have a mushroom that has some common lookalikes and you know that it could be one or the other. Doing a spore print test will allow you to have just a little bit extra evidence that it's an X mushroom and not a Y mushroom. If you're struggling to identify one, you're not sure if it's one or two, but you know that 1 and 2 each have a different spore color, then this is a great test. So think of this more of as a pattern you can look for, but not a foolproof method. So I'm also going to put up a little chart on the screen for what colors we're typically looking for. There's going to be certain colors that are going to indicate what kind of mushroom it is and whether or not it's toxic. Certain colors we typically want to avoid are going to be white, pink, purple, brown, green, and brown colors of spores. Typically you want to avoid those. Now there's going to be different shades of these, and the different shades sometimes are going to make it a little bit complicated whether to know if it's poisonous or not. And so some of the ones that may not be toxic include the colors black, chocolate brown, buff tan color, and some white will be non-toxic as well. And then I'll kind of go over those colors. I'm going to show you a chart as I said on the screen. I'll go over some of the mushrooms that have certain spore colors so you can start adding that to your portfolio of things to look for as well. And you can download spore test PDF that I'm going to attach in the description below and also show on screen. Now I did 48 hours of this sitting under here. I picked a really dry mushroom. If you pick a mushroom that's really dry, the spores are going to have trouble printing, and so you might need to put a couple droplets of water. So I put a few droplets of water in there just to help those spores come out a little bit. I will say that the gills on this had a lot of spores on them, so I kind of knew the color before I took this off, but I did put some drops in here to help with the moisture, because ultimately the moisture is what's going to push those spores out. That's why you put this top on there. The top is to keep the moisture in. And not only can you do this on printer paper, you can also do it on aluminum foil to save that print. The fresher the mushroom, the better the print you're going to get. So you're going to get a nice artistic print if you're going for the artistic route, if you have a fresh mushroom. Whereas one like this that's super, super, super dry, the print is not very potent, but we're still going to get the general color. So we're going to pull the top off, pull the cap, and you can see a kind of moist print. So you can see all the moisture right there. And then you can kind of see we ended up with a brown print. Hopefully that comes up on there well enough. Brown print. You can see the little lines and zigzags and whatnot, a little bit of moisture in there. And then, of course, once again, you can kind of see the pores on this one. This one's kind of obvious. It's kind of like a brownish, tannish, kind of gold color. So, as mentioned, a chocolate brown, so like a darker brown color, is typically a sign of something that's maybe not poisonous, but a standard brown color is typically going to be more poisonous. And I would say this is kind of borderline the tan color. It's kind of golden, but it's also kind of got like a dark brown color as well. So I'm not a pro at identifying gilled mushrooms. I don't mess with gilled mushrooms too often because I think it's extremely dangerous and you really need to be a pro. The only types of mushrooms I mess with are going to be polypores, so also ones that are growing on trees, whether it's red banded polypore or horsehoof mushroom, which is a good kindling holder, as well as turkey tail. Those ones I'm familiar with. Guild mushrooms I don't know a lot about. Now, according to my color chart, this kind of golden brown color, probably not poisonous. I saw there's a Dryad saddle, as well as a king bolete, if I'm pronouncing those both correctly. Both supposedly, from what I read, and you need to do your own research, are edible. It's possible this is actually an edible mushroom. I don't know for a fact. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not in an emergency situation. I don't need to eat this mushroom. I know morels on the ground, and I know lobsters and lion's mane, and that's about it. Until I get more savvy in medicinal mushrooms in general, I'm not going to be eating any mushrooms like this. So I'm going to do some more research and figure out what other mushrooms and figure out what kind of mushroom this is. But right now, I think it's one of those two that I mentioned, either a king bolete or a Dryad saddle. And there's some other bolete mushrooms. Once again, I could be mispronouncing these, that look like this one, but they're slightly different colors. So, and the stem looks very similar to the ones I've seen in the pictures. So we're going to do more research. I'm not eating this anytime soon, but the spore test, try it out with some different mushrooms. Comment down below, if you have any cool spore prints that you make. So also some common spore patterns that you'll find. Amanitas typically have a white spore pattern. So I just want to take a moment to show you this Amanita spore pattern and then look at the actual Amanita mushroom. I am now questioning my predictions earlier because the mushroom that I have presented to you looks like this Amanita. So it may be a deadly poisonous mushroom, and I might have just killed myself if I ate it. Remember, this is a science experiment. We're trying to figure this out, and this is only one piece of the puzzle. Now, the spore print was a golden brown color, so this second prediction could be wrong due to that. That's why we have to take all of these different pieces, put them together like a puzzle to find out what we are looking at. Amanitas are poisonous. You can have a psychedelic experience with an Amanita. I wouldn't eat them. The brown spore pattern, one type of mushroom that has a brown pattern is the Cordonarius. Many of these are toxic and can cause kidney damage. Typical brown color. Now there are some purple-brown spore patterns which are beautiful. The Gallerina mushroom, a very deadly mushroom, has that purple-brown color spore pattern. And certain types of psilocybin mushrooms, I believe, have a purple-brown color as well. Now there are green spore patterns as well. Chlorophyllum molybdites, if I said that correctly, which also has some edible lookalikes. That one's toxic as well. Pink spore patterns, on the other hand, you've got the Entoloma mushroom, many of the species which are toxic. So those spore print colors are commonly toxic. White, brown, purple, brown, green, and pink. Some other spore print colors that may be edible include like a chocolate brown color. Agaricus mushrooms like Portobello and Cremini have typically a chocolate brown spore pattern. Black spore patterns like Coprinus mushrooms. Some of these are edible when young. Some white spore patterns are edible, like the Rusula and Lactarius mushrooms. And then like a buff tan color. Some mushrooms like the Boletus and Pleurotus mushrooms are going to have that spore pattern and are edible. So the golden rule with spore patterns. Spore patterns are just one puzzle piece in identifying mushrooms and whether or not they're edible. Combine it with other ID factors like the cap, gills, stem, habitat, time of year, bruising color, and of course, even more important, expert consultation. That's how you're going to identify a mushroom species. Do this all at your own risk. I am not a mushroom expert. I'm not going to be identifying mushrooms or eating them anytime soon. So I suggest you seek a professional. And once again, look in the description below. I'm going to share a color wheel palette of spores for mushrooms that can help you identify mushrooms in a pinch. One last thing, a general rule of thumb. Typically with berries, red equals dead. So don't eat red berries unless they're a clustered berry like this right here. This, although not ripe, is going to be a blackberry, and you can see the clusters on there. So raspberries, blackberries, thimbleberries, different berries with multiple clusters on there are safe to eat. This is a cool one. This is called ghost asparagus. Not really edible. However, I know you can make some medicinal stuff out of this tincture-wise. Wild foraging can be life-saving or life-threatening. Always study your wild plants before you need them. And if you're unsure, follow the universal edibility test to reduce your risk in a survival situation. Like this video if you learned something new, and subscribe for more survival skills. Click the description below to download the Forager's cheat sheet that's for free to keep with your gear and your survival bag. It could save your life or somebody that you love. And comment down below, what is the wildest plant that you foraged before? Stay smart, stay safe, stay wild.